Hi guys, welcome to Creations by Karen. Today we're going to make the angel wing wreath. I'm going to show you step by step how to do it. So let's get started. A few things you're going to need in order to make this wreath. You're going to need a pair of heavy duty wire cutters. You're going to need a pair of needle nose pliers. You're going to need something to cut tie wraps with. I really like these cuticle cutters. I got them at Dollarama. They're like $1.25. And you also need a hole punch. Once again, Dollarama, $1.25. You're going to need a heart-shaped wreath form. I did make some alterations to this wreath form. I cut out the top, first row here, between the two brackets, and also at the bottom. I cut actually two sections off the bottom here. That's really important to do to make this wreath. In order to make it work really well, I had to use some mesh, plastic mesh, like this, in order to cut the center out. So I just placed my wreath form down on it like this, and then I just traced the inside, and then cut it out, and then I attached it to my wreath form using tie wraps. You only need about 5 or 6 to secure it onto the wreath form. Works really well. It took me a while really to decide how I was going to place the petals on the inside of my wreath. And it was trial and error. And I will tell you that it did take me a couple of hours kind of to get the placement right. And that was really important for me. So once again, I just made a template like this out of cardboard, put it down on top of my plastic mesh. And then in all the holes that I've made on this template, I put a dot with my magic marker, and that allowed me to know where exactly I wanted to have my petals. You can do this any way you want, but this really worked for me, and I've done a few of these now, so it's really important that I don't spend a whole lot of time wasting time putting petals on and taking them off and putting them on and taking them off. You're going to need 9 tie wraps on the top, the inside rung here. You're going to need 10 in the bottom section. You're going to need, once again, 9 on the top and 10 on the bottom. And this is what it looks like when I've put the plastic mesh on, and I've also put all the tie wraps on. So basically you could see on this that I have all my tie wraps done on the top and bottom. Also my grid on my plastic mesh is placed, and then I just put tie wraps again where I put all my dots for making this inside piece. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and show you how to cut the mesh. So here in Canada, we don't have a lot of the variety of mesh that you do in the States. We can get Deco mesh at Michael's, or there's a couple of other places that we can get the Deco mesh, but it's quite expensive. Even if you use a coupon, it's pretty expensive as compared to the States. So I happened to find these rolls of 6-inch mesh at Dollarama here in London. But it's really, really, really see-through. So I wanted to make sure I doubled it in order to make the petals look a little bit more realistic. So what I did is I made this kind of contraption. So I just made it with 2x2 pieces of 2x2, put some holes in the side, put some doweling through it, and then attached it to a couple of pieces of wood that I just had laying around here. Anyways, I am going to use a wood burner to cut my mesh. Now, for trial and error, I did use scissors initially, and I found that there's just so much fray that I had to find a different way. I went on the YouTube, found a lot of other people that were making these petals, and they all used a wood burner, so why not? I'm going to use a wood burner too. Anyways, you're going to take your mesh that you have on your contraction. You don't have to make one of these. You can just fight with them, I guess, on the doing 2 at a time. So I did put 2 at a time down, and I make sure that they're really even. So the bottom and the top are both even. Now, I see a lot of people that use the big plastic mats that has all the grid lines and everything on them. I couldn't find one that was reasonably priced here in Canada. So I just went out and got a piece of ceramic tile from the Habitat for Humanity. I think I paid $3 for it. And then I marked out on my tile, just in magic marker, where I wanted my grid lines to be. I use 6-inch mostly and 10-inch, so that's the ones that I put on. So I'm just going to lay this down and make sure it's that both pieces are together. Then I'm going to take my wood burner and just cut on the line that I've made that shows it's 6 inches. Try to really follow the line of the mesh as well, and you could just pull it off like this. And then I do the other side. Once again, you just got to make sure that they're both together, and put your wood burner on and come down on it like this. And sometimes you have to make 2 or 3 runs on it. This isn't really hot because I kind of just turned it on. But you can see that the mesh, oh, my cat's having a visit. My mesh is much more thick and not a see-through with doubling it. So that's really important. Let me show you again how to do that. Just bring your mesh down. And I think it's really important to know that if you're cutting mesh with a wood burner, that you use some kind of protective device over your mouth and nose, because it does send off some smoke, and apparently the smoke is quite toxic to humans and also to animals. So I'm just trying to wait for my cat to take off, okay, because she likes to hang out with me. Anyways, take my wood burner, come down. Oh, she's here. Go, 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 Lexi. Go. Go on. One more row. Go down with your wood burner like that. And then you've cut it. And it really seals this mesh on the, I call it the unfinished side, so that there's very little fray when you're going to make this wreath. Certainly when you do have fray, you just take some scissors out when you completed it and cut off the frayed ends. Show you one more time. Without the cat here. Put your mesh down. Wood burner. Just come, and if you take your time while you're doing this, it certainly doesn't, you don't need to make 2 runs on it like that. Okay? Perfect. Just going to shut this off and put it off to the side. Okay, I'm just going to put this down. And I'm just going to put my ceramic tile, take it off, just because it makes some clanging noises when I'm using my tools. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start applying the petals to my wreath form. So once again, I have my wreath form all ready to go. These petals are pretty easy to make. So you're just going to have a finished edge on the right, a finished edge on the left. You're going to turn it into a diamond shape, and you're just going to scrunch it into the middle. So then you have sort of a bow tie look, okay? Then you just turn it so that your finished edges are running in the same direction, like that. And you're just going to apply it to your first zip tie. Just like this. Just bring it in. Now you have a couple of little sort of ends on the top here that I couldn't get really close to the wreath form while I was cutting it off. Now your wreath, your petals are going to cover that, so you really don't need to worry about it. Snug it up, and then take your cuticle cutter, clip it off, and then turn that to the side like that. So that's what your first petal looks like coming on. And all you have to do is keep following your tie wraps. We'll do it again. Take your mesh, come into the middle, Sorry. Make a bow tie. Put your finished edges together. And then apply it to your wreath. You always want to make sure you tuck your unfinished edge under your finished edge so your unfinished edges aren't showing. But one more time. Bring this around. Once again, your finished edges are going in the same direction. And you're just going to zip tie it into place. I know a lot of people like to do other things with this. They can use Chanel stems. I just like the zip ties because I can sit upstairs and watch TV and put all the zip ties on. It's just a time saver for me, I guess. Time is money. Also, when you're placing your petals in, you want to make sure that the zip ties are all running in the same direction too, because otherwise they look kind of wonky, I think. Your petals. Clip it off. And turn it in. So that's what they look like when you put them on. And you can just evenly space them out. Make sure that these are running in the same direction. And you just keep going around your wreath form until you have all your outside wreaths placed, okay? I'm going to save time, I've already done one, and I'm going to show you what it looks like when you have all your petals put on. So this is what your wreath form will look like when you have all your outside petals on, okay? So they're all sort of going in the same direction. See on this side and also on this side. And that's why I want the finished edge to be the one that's actually you can see if you're looking at the wreath. And the unfinished edges are sort of tucked underneath. Okay, we're going to keep going with the inside. So you have all your tie wraps placed, and it really doesn't matter where you start when you make these. I go ahead and make a lot of the petals ahead of time, and I just place them and put a paper clip on or a clothes peg on them to hold them. And once again, it's something that I can do when I'm just watching TV. So I just take my clothes peg off. Sorry. Scrunch up the one end of my petal, and then I just place it in the zip tie, and you just kind of gotta look where you want it to sit down. Snug it up with your needle nose pliers. Clip it off and turn it to the side. Once again. And it's really important to keep your petals kind of going in the same direction, where the finished edge is kind of all going in the same direction, because it just makes your wreath look so much nicer. I'm doing this actually for a friend of mine whose mom just passed away, and she asked me if I'd do one up for her, and I said of course I would. I did another one for another person that was going to take it out to her dad's gravesite. I don't know if she was going to get one of those things that's staking in the ground, but I don't know. So this one up here that I had made and posted, it had a purple sort of arrangement in the top of it. The ladies that I'm doing for today, her favorite flower was tulips. So I'm going to do one in pink tulips because that's what she liked. And zip it close. I'm going to do one more for you. It's your petals. Just place it in. Another reason why I like to double the petals is because when you're using white, often if you don't petal it, double it, sorry, petal it, you can see the wreath form underneath, and that's not something I'm very fond of. I'll put one more in for you. So you just have to place all your wreath or your petals in. Just take your time. Make sure they're all sort of the same size. And then once you're done, you can kind of look at it. Certainly if you make a mistake, you can just clip your zip tie out, put another one in. It works good. And clip it off. And push it to the side. So that's what it looks like as I'm building the inside of the wreath. So I'm starting, and they all sort of come in the same direction. Now when I actually put the plaque on the center of it, I'm actually going to turn it. So this is the top and this is the bottom. I'll show you why in 1 minute. I've gone ahead and filled all of the inside of this wreath with petals just to save time. I did that ahead of time. And this is what it looks like once all the petals are in. It's really quite full, and you can't see the wreath form underneath of it, and it looks really good. Okay, so now I'm going to show you how to put the center on. First, I'll show you how I did the center. So I just went to my local dollar store, and they had, these oval plaques. Brought it home, painted it white, and then I used my Cricut to put what I wanted to say on the inside of this plaque. And you can actually put anything you want on it. The woman that I was doing this for was very specific on what she wanted. And so I was more than happy to do that for her. Once again, you can put anything you want. And if you don't have a Cricut, if you've got nice handwriting, you can just write it in yourself. Sometimes that's a really personal thing to do. And I think it would work. No problem at all. So this is what it looks like once everything's on. And I'm sorry that it kind of looks backwards, but you kind of get the drift of what goes on this. And you're just going to make sure that it's kind of placed properly. So once again, this is how the heart shape would normally be. And basically, I'm just going to flip it around and apply the plaque to this part. Okay, so it's facing in this direction, because I really like the wreath bottom to be quite full. So the heart shaped, just turn it around. So this is the way you want to apply the plaque on the front of it. And what I did with the plaque is I just stapled a chenille stem onto the back, and then I applied a piece of foam over top of it just to give it a finished look in case they wanted to change it out. So what you're going to do, make sure you go into the top. So there's always a little spots on this where there's nothing actually there. You can see that. See, there's open spaces. So I'm just going to fish my chenille stem through here on this side, and then again at the bottom. It's my cat having a visit. She likes to be anywhere I am, that's for sure. This is sort of a bit of a trial and error deal here. Oh, of course it doesn't want to cooperate when I need it to. There we go. just going to push this in. Okay. So once you have it where you want it to be, and it's kind of just trial and error. Not too worried about the top of the wreath form showing because you are going to put something on the top. So then you're just going to turn it around, and then you're going to just secure your twist ties on the back of it. And I just make sure it's really snug. Twist it around 4 or 5 times. And just tuck these in. So that's what it looks like once you put this on. Now, once again, I said that this woman really liked tulips. Those were her favorite flower, and I was more than happy to make her a little arrangement for the top of it in her favorite colors. So I just went to the local Dollarama, and I just got some little tulips and some baby's breath. And all you really want to do with this is just stick it in the top. You can hot glue this in. Just apply some hot glue to it and just slide it in the top. So it looks like this. You can tie wrap it in. You can staple it in. You can do almost anything, but you just want to make sure that it's not going to come out. And then once it's in there, you just kind of just arrange it the way that you want and make sure it's satisfactory for you. So that's what this one looks like. Okay. So in order to hang this, I wanted to make sure I was able to hang it well. And I just get a chenille stem, come through the top of this. Now I will glue that in once this is all done, just to make sure that it's just going to take it out for the second here. Open the petal fall off. So when you get your chenille stem, you're just going to make a little sort of circle. Just give it a couple of twists. Feed it into the top of your wreath form. Make sure you're on the top and not the bottom. Done that before. Put this in. Like so. And what I do is just twist it around. And once it's in place, I just clip it off my cuticle cutters, multi-purpose. So now I have my chenille stem on the back like this, and that can hang. I like everything to sort of look finished. That's just my thing. I don't know if I'm a little OCD or whatever. But before I started this, I cut this out of a piece of foam. And all I'm going to do is attach this to the back like this, just using zip ties. And that's just my preference. You certainly don't have to do it if you're making it for yourself. But if you're giving it to someone or you're selling it at a craft show, then I think it's really important to make sure the back is covered as well. That's just me. Once again, this is what it looks like. I'm just going to put this back in here. And this will all be glued in and ready to go. So that's it. That's the angel wing wreath. I hope you enjoyed yourself watching it today. If you like it, give me a thumbs up. And be sure to subscribe. I do tutorials every Thursday and every Sunday on a brand new affordable craft. So have a really great day, and I will talk to you soon.